What's up guys, Pass here, back with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes commentary video, and we are hitting up my roster review again, this time with Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's right, I finally got him mostly gear max. I'm still missing that dreaded stun gun and another friggin' Carbonti sensor array, but let's take a look at his stats. His base health and base protection, this is at 6 stars, is pretty decent. He's rocking almost 25,000 health, that's with a little bit of help from mods, and almost 35,000 protection, again, a little help from mods. I've got 75 speed on him, and he seems to be doing really well there, and we'll talk a little bit more about his speed in a minute. All of his abilities use special damage, so it's nice that his special damage is so high. However, his special crit chance is pretty low, so unless you're going to stack him with a ton of crit, it's not really going to work that great. His basic attack is Manipulate. It against characters. It deals special damage to a target enemy, grant them speed up for 1 turn if they already had ability block, stun for 1 turn instead. When the speed up expires, it inflicts ability block for 1 turn. These effects can't be resisted. For raid bosses, it has a different effect. It deals special damage to a target enemy and inflicts defense down for 2 turns, which also cannot be resisted, so his potency really doesn't matter for anything. His first special ability is called Fracture, and it deals special damage to a target enemy 4 times, dispels all buffs on them, removes 50% turn meter, and then inflicts Fracture until the start of Thrawn's next turn or until Thrawn is defeated. This Fracture can't be copied or dispelled, so no Cassian sharing that stuff, and it cannot be evaded or resisted again, so yeah. Potency is out the door. Fracture on characters sets the speed to 0, can't gain buffs, bonus attacks, or bonus turn meter. They can be healed. Fracture on raid bosses is a minus 50% speed, so essentially the old 5's speed down, and it doesn't stack with speed down. Bosses also can't gain buffs, and they lose 30% counter chance, so essentially the B2 rocket droid is what that's designed for. Grand Admiral's Command is his second special ability, and he swaps turn meter with a target other ally, dispels all debuffs on Thrawn and that ally, and they both recover 40% protection. This ability is awesome for giving your Darth Nihilus a little boost. Also good for restoring some protection on a tank, so that ability is actually really useful. His leader ability is Legendary Strategist. Empire allies have plus 15% max protection, plus 25% offense, and gain 20% turn meter whenever they resist a detrimental effect or suffer a debuff. Whenever an Empire ally gains or loses a status effect, they recover 2% protection. That's all positive and negative status effects. Empire allies gain a new special ability, Maneuver. Maneuver dispels all debuffs on that character, and they gain 50% turn meter, and then has a 3 turn cooldown. So his unique is Ebb and Flow. This also has a Zeta. Thrawn has a plus 100% counter chance, plus 100% tenacity, and minus 50% speed while any enemies are fractured. Whenever another Empire ally uses a special ability while Thrawn is active, that ally gains 15% turn meter, and if any enemies are fractured, Thrawn and that enemy lose 15% turn meter. With the Zeta, you only gain the 50% counter chance, 50% tenacity, and the turn meter reduction on the fractured enemy. Otherwise, Thrawn has a 50% counter chance plus 50% tenacity, and only he loses the 15% turn meter whenever any Empire allies use a special ability. When it comes to Thrawn's gear at gear 11, he does require a couple of doozies. He requires the Mark 6 fusion furnace, a Mark 7 shield generator, and a Mark 5 droid collar, all pretty much a pain in the butt. And then of course he requires the Mark 5 stun gun and another Carbonti sensor array. They're kind of a pain in the butt as well. I put speed mods on my Thrawn because he has a really good high base speed, so that speed set bonus is going to actually give him a decent speed bonus. And obviously I've got relatively good mods on him. I've got 75 speed. Unfortunately, if you want to farm your Thrawn, you're going to have to go farm Phoenix, because Phoenix is the only avenue of approach for getting Thrawn, and that is a legendary event that I am not 100% sure on when it's going to show up again. Against the meta, now this is a Qui-Gon Jinn meta here, he is alright. The biggest pain in the butt with a Qui-Gon Jinn's meta here is that I really should have paid more attention to Chopper, because let's face it, that stealth kind of defeats the whole purpose of Fracture. I didn't want General Kenobi to taunt here, and instead, you know, R2 just kind of said, you know what, he's going to taunt anyway because we're going to give everybody stealth. So that kind of sucked, but you know, it just meant that, you know, he wasn't gaining any buffs, he wasn't getting any foresight, he wasn't getting really much of anything. So, but I can tell you right now that Thrawn has showed up in a lot of the arena squads that I fight against in my arena. He may have showed up a lot in your arena as well, depending on how old your arena shard is. By arena shard, I mean the arena server that you play on. Shard is kind of the slang term for arena server. And he really kind of works in a lot of different lineups. He's kind of like Darth Nihilus, where, yeah, he has better synergy with a certain, you know, faction of characters. So in, you know, Darth Nihilus's case, he works best with other Sith. However, you see Darth Nihilus in nearly every arena lineup, and it kind of goes the same for Thrawn. I've seen him under a Darth Vader Zeta lead, and I've seen him under a great number of other leads. And right here, it almost looks like it's game over for me, but my Thrawn and Darth Nihilus are, well, quickly losing protection, but they were at that, you know, earlier. They were at full protection, and R2 dies fast. I think getting Ezra out of the way was very important. However, you still have, you know, Kenobi to deal with. You got friggin' Yoda to deal with. I really should have just killed Yoda right there after I fractured him, because he is a humongous pain in the butt. When you're fighting against a Qui-Gon Jinn Zeta lead, Yoda can just cause so many problems. I really could have used a crit there, but, you know, right there, that foresight, man, holy moly, just a pain in the butt. Right here was a tough decision. I decided to go ahead and use the Annihilate on Qui-Gon Jinn, and I was a little worried here because, you know, Yoda can really cause a lot of problems, but Nihilus pulled it out in the pinch. That was really, really close, but then again, that was against literally the strongest Qui-Gon Jinn squad on my arena server. He's got really, really good mods, so I was actually pretty surprised I was able to pull that one out. Now, talking more about Thrawn, Fracture is incredible. Fracture is a huge game changer in the game right now. It essentially incapacitates one character on the enemy squad. I mean, it kind of also incapacitates your Thrawn, because your Thrawn isn't really taking any turns while that enemy is fractured. So that's where the Zeta on his unique actually tends to be something that might be a little more beneficial to some players, because if you have him Zeta'd, at least when he's getting attacked while you have an enemy fractured, he's actually going to be countering at 100% chance. So unless he's dazed, stunned, he's going to be counterattacking. Now, one way you can get around using a Zeta on Thrawn is gear him up or team him up with General Kenobi, because if he's got retribution on him while the enemy is fractured, then he's also going to be countering at 100%, which, you know, I think the Zeta on his unique is probably, now see, that's where the debate on Zetas really gets heated, because if you're going to be using Thrawn with Empire, you have to decide how you're going to use Thrawn with Empire. Are you going to group up Thrawn under a Zeta Darth Vader lead, which I've seen a lot of people do and have great success with an un-Zeta, not even his unique, under a Darth Vader lead, tends to work very, very well. However, if you're going to actually plan on using him as the leader, then I would definitely Zeta his leader ability. His leader ability is very, very viable, especially when you're talking about grouping him up with other characters that give buffs against other teams that strip buffs, because anytime somebody gains or loses any status effect, positive or negative, they gain 2% protection, which Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're fighting against an enemy Darth Nihilus and you're getting health down at the beginning of every turn, that health down equates to 2% protection. And then if you have a Rex on your squad and that Rex cleanses, the health down gives everybody tenacity up. Not only are they gaining 2% protection for losing the health down, but they're also getting 2% protection from gaining the tenacity up. So it works out extremely well in that regard. If you are going to run him under a Darth Nihilus lead, like you see me here, that protection gain for his second special ability is rendered useless, pretty much. This was kind of just in Galactic War. I was having some fun, just kind of playing around with different squad builds, and I thought this was actually a pretty interesting fight, and the way it kind of panned out was pretty interesting. So I decided to go ahead and include this video footage because, you know, it's kind of an unconventional squad that you see Thrawn thrown in here with, and I think that it helps to kind of see, you know, the different ways that you can use Thrawn, the different ways that he excels, and where he's, you know, less useful or not as effective. So, all in all, if you don't have Thrawn, go get Phoenix Squadron, because not only are Phoenix Squadron, I mean, come on, they're required for Thrawn, so you know that they're kind of a high-profile squad. It would be, I think, a loss for EACG if they don't rework Phoenix. I mean, they have a lot of room for Zetas. They don't have any Zetas right now, so, you know, I think that there is a huge opportunity for EACG to rework the Phoenix Squad to make them really good. That's a subject for another video, but definitely go get Thrawn. If you don't have Thrawn right now, you're missing out. Let me just put it that way. Thrawn is amazing. He's a great character, great asset to have on your squad, and if you only use him even if you only use him for Galactic War, he's great. He's incredible. I really don't see any realm where he's not useful. So, trying to keep it short, like you said. I think feedback on my last roster review was that you guys like the shorter formats, so here it is in about 10 minutes, a little over 12 for the, you know, outro and everything else. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server to continue the conversation, and as always, I'll catch you later.